welcome back to the podcast we can't name. Shout out Cal Beats for this fire intro.
Okay, Cal.
All right, we got a lot to talk about today, but to begin, I care about you guys. How have you been?
I've been straight.
Good.
You know,
Hustling,
getting
getting the bread.
their bread.
And
spending it.
winning those games on the pod.
Yeah, and definitely get those dubs and COD.
These guys are working 2
Are
days
they
a
dubs
week.
though?
Yeah, aren't they really helps?
And look at Aisha out here, buff as fuck, looking zaddy.
Thanks, bro. I'm
Guy.
in the gym.
No homo.
Bro, sucking. It's called working out. But also, obviously, what I eat. But, I mean, I just eat a lot, so
do you watch what you eat?
I try, but I don't really think I have done a good job watching what I eat.
Because you were doing like keto for a while.
Bro, keto, shout out to Ashim. He introduced me to keto, but
It helped you a lot, right?
in the beginning it was, bro, but after I started actually lifting, dude, oh my God, that thing sucks. Like, it's horrible. Like, you just feel so shitty, like, throughout the day. I try to watch what I eat, but it's not really working too well. I just had like 3 donuts yesterday, so.
It's been so much harder because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We're always home, so we're always like walking towards the kitchen going like, God, I don't want to do this.
Like, we eat when we're bored most of the time. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, like, most of the time we're not even hungry. We just eat because we're bored. But now,
or like you
being
sit down to do something and you're
Yeah.
sitting at your desk, like you want something to either
exactly.
like grab
let
and
me
sip.
get a drink or let me get a snack. But
Exactly.
now we're even home. Like, it's like we even get more bored, so we just it's more easy just to go to the fridge and get
Yeah,
something.
like, just before I sleep, I always get hungry. Even if I.
It's called dinner.
What
So,
about around?
let me introduce you to something called lunch, bro. It's pretty wild.
Wait till he hears about supper.
Oh, we forgot about something.
God damn.
All right, we don't really do supper though. I mean, like us, we always eat our dinner at like 9-10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, we
Okay,
don't
what
do- we
even
don't do
supper is just
brunch
what
either.
like
Supper is like dinner, right? Or like before
it's
dinner.
pre-dinner, yeah.
Supper is more of like a it's more like a British thing. Like supper,
Okay,
they
okay.
say supper. That's the origination. But dinner is more like
Can you say it in a British talk for us then?
supper.
What did you say?
What did he say?
Bibik was telling us a funny story last night where, he's like everywhere else in the world, you can say I need to go to the toilet, and they understand what you mean, right? You have to go to the bathroom. But when you say here, people laugh at you because they
Toilet is
find it
more-
so literal.
Bro, the Canadians, they say washroom.
No. There's washroom and then there's bathroom. Canadians say washroom.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like the bathroom is the one at the home, right? The one in the
Bathroom
home,
is more at home. I think.
like where you actually
Yeah.
take a bath. I don't know how we started
That's
calling
so
the
weird.
bathrooms like.
And then the polyterm is toilet.
yeah, like down south they don't call it pop, they call it
They
just
call it
soda.
soda,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they call it Coke. And yeah, Coke.
Oh yeah, don't they call it just Coke and then you're like, okay, I'll take Coke, and just like, which one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
some
like
places I
Sprite
think
Coke or $1,200. That's the only stimulus check that Americans have gotten so far, and that's Americans with an asterisk because it was only for people over the age of 18. If you're listed as a dependent on your parents' tax returns, then you didn't get it. So most college students, you didn't get it. You were out of luck. Did you guys get it here?
Nope.
Yeah. Yes, I got it.
You got it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
independent. I was
You were independent. Okay, I see.
Okay, yeah.
So there was a certain like salary requirement where if you were above that threshold, then they figured that you didn't need it as much.
Tax fraud.
My parents' stimulus check actually didn't come for like a couple of months.
Why are you exposing?
I mean, that's for a lot of people. There was a lot of delays on
Yeah,
all that kind of
like
stuff.
my dad had to like reapply a couple of times. I
Yeah,
think for him
there
to
was a
get
day
it.
on
It was
unemployment, too.
like it was a good amount, like a couple of months, bro. It was a good amount.
Okay, so $75,000.
$75,000 was the cutoff.
Yeah.
We also had like unemployment extra benefits. Like I think you got something around like $600 on top of what the normal unemployment gave
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So it was a fairly good amount for most people. Still, if you're working a 90K, 100K type of job and you're living that lifestyle and you lose that job all of a sudden, you're not going to be able to keep going as much as we were able to with the unemployment benefits. But those expired sometime in July. We've only gotten that one $1,200 stimulus check, as opposed to like other developed countries, other Western countries. even counting Australia in there. That's like we're we're the lowest.
Yeah.
You know, we've literally given our citizens the least amount of economic support. Do you guys know of anything like, you know, you don't have to go personal, but do you guys know of any stories like where a family business has shut down or something like that because of the pandemic?
I do work at. I used to. I still do, but I work at a restaurant called Mom, which is an Indian restaurant, and they pretty much shut down the whole thing because so basically, they were only open for carry out, and they were smart enough to like not have it in it for dining when they started to like lessen the restrictions and all that kind of stuff, and like it was just like it was kind of hard for them because like they have to pay rent, and the rent at and the area that they live in, they charge them extra. Even if the
Because that's around like the University of Michigan, you know. It's like
it's next to North Campus and all that kind of stuff.
it's popping.
Yeah, it's popping. Yeah.
And a lot of people work there, right? Like a lot of people depend on that job. So when the pandemic started and everything like that, did they close down for a little bit or did they stay open?
Oh no, they closed fully like for months.
Okay, so all the workers at that point, they were just like getting unemployment insurance.
Yeah, they're getting unemployment. And the owner's wife did help us get like benefits and all that kind of stuff to get extra more money and all that.
Yeah,
So-
that's commendable during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they reopened and they only opened carryout only.
Yeah, carry only. Even though they did, the rules did allow to do like dining and all that kind of stuff, but they still kept it as carry out.
Yeah. The only reason why I wanted to talk about that or a specific story was because there was like a CARES Act that was passed through the House and the Senate back in May, either March, April, May, sometime in that area. We'll put a subtitle here with the fact, but that was passed, and there was a payment protection plan passed too, which extended sometime through summer. But other than that, business have been pretty much on their own after that. Like there has been very little federal or even state support for businesses. So restaurants, bars, you know, they've been hit kind of the hardest. Like bars usually have really good food, and you can order carry out from them, but the main source of their business is coming from the drinks that they're selling, right? Like the bars don't even really depend on as much on their food as just getting you there and getting you to drink.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And bars do get taxed a lot because of the drinks.
And
all
it's
that.
also bars like a lot of people just come there to be like, you know, engagement with their friends and stuff, like, you know, watch sports there and eat. So it's kind of a big hit.
And like customers for bars, they rely on loyalty, right? Like
Yeah.
you spend a lot of time there,
Yeah.
hours, you bring your friends,
Mm-hmm.
and you run up a tab. And then they come hunt you down if you don't pay it. But what other businesses like salons is another one where, you know, they just had to be shut down for a long time.
Yeah.
Barbers and like
Barbers, yeah.
Yeah, barbers too.
Exactly.
Barbers too. Yep. So those places had to shut down to keep our country safe. So you know, there's this whole idea battle going where it's like you don't shut down the country just because there's a pandemic that's killing this percent of people. I don't want to say the actual percent. It's around 2, but I don't know the exact percent. Shutting down the country is necessary though, because at the beginning we didn't even know much about it, right? So that's why everything was like, stay at home, you know, don't go out. We don't know how this thing works at all. And then we started labeling businesses as essential and keeping them open, trying to keep at least our food in the house, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and people being like we're being ignorant about it, comparing it to the flu, even though that was not true. It's worse, but still
It's
like
way
it's-
worse
it's-
than the flu.
It's way like when it comes to spreading it,
Yeah.
it has a bigger chance of spreading it than
It was, I think it was more at the time being like COVID was still new and there wasn't really much death to it, right? So like, people were like, oh, you know, flu kills more people, but then you gotta realize it's really like it's more contagious than
yeah.
you know,
It's
that-
only been months.
yeah, and also they were saying like you know, car this many people, you know, every year,
Bring
you
all
know,
these
why we didn't shut
statistics
down the
up.
company, but it's just that's like you're just missing the whole fact that it's being contagious and like
Why are we making these like outlandish analogies?
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, like things that don't even compare in the
Yeah,
slightest.
they don't correlate. They're just
Like-
trying to compare
Like
things.
we see, like even I think yesterday U.S. had the most coronavirus cases. Like,
What do you mean, you guys?
what? No. I mean,
a Canadian.
no. I mean, we like yesterday I was reading the news and we saw that
most like.
It's like after
Yeah.
a couple of days, U.S. has the most cases. It's like it's
Oh, you
becoming
said
a trend.
U.S.
Yeah.
I thought you said you guys.
Oh, I said U.S.
Okay.
No, I think
So you said
Yeah.
yesterday we had the most
Yeah, we
cases
had the most
in the
cases.
United States,
Yes.
most confirmed cases.
like
Most confirmed
yeah,
cases.
every couple of days, like a week, we have the most cases. It's just
No, no,
it's
no,
like
no,
a trend
yeah,
now, bro.
Yeah,
We-
it's good.
Like the U.S. has been breaking records since like
November.
November, like literally.
Since the beginning of November, it's been every day, every week.
like,
Yeah.
and they compare it to China and the U.S. and China, which literally.
Well, so let's compare it to like other Western developed countries because for China, there's like actual doubt about their
oh yeah,
about
Yeah,
their
yeah,
numbers.
there are
There's-
some
yeah.
false like you
Yeah.
know.
I mean, they keep their information pretty like secret. So.
Yeah, I mean, like they did take extreme measures, right? Like
Yeah.
we can definitely say that because they are an authoritarian state.
Yeah.
They can do things that many other
But
countries that.
compared to like, let's say New Zealand, that's
That's a developed
Yeah.
country too. How they.
New Zealand is a lot smaller, but like
But I mean, their policy though. Of what
even
they're
if you
doing.
look at Italy or like the UK, right? They had hotspots, they had spikes, but then they dealt with them, right? And then they got their cases to come back down.
Like all the lockdowns in Italy was like very like I was watching the news and it was so crazy because like everyone was completely indoors and stuff.
They were playing like games with each
Yeah,
other
they were-
outside
yeah.
of their windows.
So, with the windows, they were like throwing like I don't know, like a tennis ball.
Yeah, I seen some videos from like Italy. People were just like playing their instruments outside their balcony and stuff. Like the whole like city were just singing and stuff together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were singing together like
Yeah.
some popular songs.
Yeah,
That was pretty much New York as well. Like people like going on balconies, like doing some
Yeah.
stuff, shit on the roof and all.
New York was going through a hard time in April.
Yeah.
I mean,
They were the
number
epicenter,
one.
right?
They were
Yeah.
it's,
they were
it's like densely populated in a small area, and it's just like the chances are like high. Like
Was that when there wasn't a mask mandate or whatever? Is that when?
no, they had a stay home order. Like everybody had to stay home. That was
Yeah.
like right when the pandemic started, but it had already spread
Yeah.
in New York like
It was-
even before.
Look at the population.
it was
compared,
too
like,
late
it's-
for I think it was too late because nobody really knew what COVID was at the time and they didn't know how it was gonna affect. So like
and like they have the subway. It's
yeah,
just, like,
exactly. The
many
subway
things.
just probably like the main spreader of COVID.
Yeah, like
there.
people had it before the stay home order, and then they just
Yeah.
started spreading it in their home too.
And I
Yeah,
because of the
people
stay-home
who were
orders.
asymptomatic as well. It's just like they weren't feeling sick, so they assumed that
Yeah.
they were all right. So they go to the subway,
And
touch from railings, stairs.
and
all
after
that
the whole
stuff.
COVID thing, I saw an article on it. I think it was over 100 years they finally cleaned the subway. It was like this amount of years. They don't like. I mean, you can look it up, but I'm not really sure exactly. But it was like a large amount of years they finally cleaned the subway, which is crazy. Like
because
there's this
because
many
they never
people-
close it
Yeah,
down, right?
yeah,
Like you can't close it down.
exactly.
That was the first time, probably ever that the subways were entirely empty.
Yeah.
because it's a city that literally never sleeps.
Yeah.
It is an amazing city too, but I certainly I don't think I would want to live there.
It's
I mean,
expensive.
it looks really nice and really good to visit and stuff, which I would definitely would want
There's
to go.
definitely
But,
bad parts
So
too.
like a couple of years I was in New York and stuff. It's just like it's so crowded, It feels like I don't know. It's not for me to be honest.
yeah, I mean, it's not for
It's
everybody,
not that
but
crowded though. Like
No, it is.
It is.
No,
It
it
is.
is
I mean,
super
there,
It's New York, buddy. It's
Yeah.
like
yeah. If you're
maybe
talking about
Times Square is, but
Times Square,
No, not
you mean
just
Manhattan?
Times Square, like,
Yeah.
Manhattan.
Times Square is like isn't Times Square just that
it's a
little
park.
the
Yeah.
3 or 4 blocks that has
Yeah.
like all the fucking TVs.
yeah,
I got it. Play by someone again.
the
But
billboards.
like, but
we about to be on Times Square soon.
well, I mean, hopefully
The
our
podcast we
makes
can't
it.
name.
Yes, sir.
Podcast we
Could they
can't
not come up with a better name?
name. Well, like,
You mentioned like the horns and just people crowded together. Like
right.
it does seem pretty bad, but I'm pretty sure like everybody who's been
That's pretty
staying
much
there,
Maybe,
staying
like,
there, just like
maybe-
saying that's just a
yeah,
normal
yeah,
life for them,
maybe,
and
yeah.
it'll be so different for them to be here.
yeah,
Casey Neistat really showed us a different
Yeah.
side of New York.
Yeah,
yeah.
When he was at his height doing all
Yeah.
of the
he
he had
moved
like
to,
the most cinematic vlogs.
Yeah,
ever.
exactly. I would watch it every day too, and he ended up moving to LA too.
And that
So-
that was all on Final Cut Pro too.
Yeah.
How was it?
That's pretty amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, his
you
vlog-
remember Casey Neistat?
Yeah. I remember.
His vlogs were crazy.
I think skating or something throughout the city, and then you could see his vlogs. And
He would always be either
he was-
skating, he'd be running,
Yeah.
he'd be like
Yeah, he was,
It was really interesting. All of his vlogs were interesting.
he was like
Just
sliding
something
in
different.
New York, like on the road, literally
Yeah.
behind it. And then
Oh yeah. That was one of the biggest videos they had.
what was it?
It was like that one we had one big snowstorm. Well, New York had a one big snowstorm
Every
and
year.
so
And
so
basically,
I think Jesse, the other
Mullins,
vlogger.
yeah.
Yeah. So it was him. I think it was him and Casey they did this a couple times, and Casey was like hanging from back of like I think
car?
a Jeep. Yeah, it was a Jeep. It was like American flag, and you were just skiing through snowboarding through
Oh, because it was so much snow.
yeah,
right?
yeah. And talking about Casey, you know, I used to watch all of his videos too, and I seen his Mavic Pro video, and he flew that inside of his studio, so I thought it was a good idea to fly inside of my house, and I ended up ripping some curtains.
Bro, it's so hard to
Yeah.
control it inside a drone we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's so hard to control it
Yeah.
when it's inside of a building because the sensors start to go
Yeah.
crazy. Just finishing up that topic real quick. If you look at the DJI headquarters, it's crazy. I'll put up a video right now, but there's just little drones flying everywhere. They're carrying little things and taking them to the employees.
Yeah, I seen
desks.
that. I didn't know if that was real or not, but it ended up being actually real. I
It is
thought
real,
was, like, fake.
and I think they're autonomous. Like there's nobody just sitting there and driving them. They all communicate with
Yeah.
each other, and it's literally like a road for the drones. You know,
Yeah, that's crazy.
above where the people are walking.
Yeah.
And
Very nice.
going back to the stimulus talks that we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So we've only gotten $1,200 so far, and there's been talks for the last 3, 4, 5 months about getting another deal done. The House actually passed something way back in May, and it was called the HEROES Act or something like that.
CARES?
And it was the CARES Act was the one that went through the House and the Senate. The HEROES Act was the next one that the House passed, and they have a Democratic majority, and it was like a $3 trillion bill. With a lot of aid for all the states. It had like election security measures too because it was back in May.
But didn't that money go to the military, the jet engines, or was that something else? When the,
Oh my god.
Then got jet in.
Whereas all
no, because the Pentagon had 3.1 billion to spare, and basically that all went to like jet engine fuel and other stuff as well. Like instead of going for like masks and like equipments for the hospitals and all that kind of stuff, the ventilators and all that.
So what you're talking about might be because of the
I don't
use
know
of
if
the
that's
Defense
HEROES Act,
Act.
but
Yeah,
that's
so-
probably something else.
So this $3 trillion act, it was the HEROES Act. It was actually for coronavirus aid for all the states, but it was never passed through the Senate. The Senate never took it up, so actually the money never got allocated. Right, the bill is still sitting like idle. You know, the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, he can bring that bill up because it's already been passed by the House, and he can bring it up for a vote in the Senate, but he has not done so. The House and the Senate have tried to negotiate because the Senate only wants like a $500 billion deal to be passed through. So think about that. The Senate wants a $500 billion bill. The House passed a $3 trillion bill. So they are very far apart, right?
Yeah.
They have not been able to come to any type of agreement because they are so far apart.
Yeah.
on
Far
those
apart.
numbers.
Yeah, I mean, Trump did say that if he didn't get elected, then
Yeah, he
won't-
wasn't gonna.
like he literally said if he didn't get elected, then he won't pass the second stimulus.
It's crazy because these politicians run to be for the people and stuff, but they still can't agree on like two parties. Like it's not about the party; it's about the American people.
Can
and,
we agree that there are people that need help?
Yeah,
Right.
Like I know it doesn't seem for us. Like I know we live with our families and stuff. It's not like even if we don't get the stimulus check, it wasn't going to be a big of a deal. But there's still a lot of Americans who live paycheck to paycheck each day, and most of them, I think, there was like a certain percentage saying like these amount of people can't even don't even have like a $50 emergency like fee or set up.
We're living better than most Americans, like how we live
Yeah.
presently, and that's to say because we're able to go into our fridge and there's food there, right? Like there's enough food there for today, tomorrow, maybe the rest of the week.
Yeah.
We can go to our parents and say, "Yo, I need this much money to do this," and most of the time they'll be able to help us out with that, right? That's not how it is for everybody. There are people, even when I was going to school, there were some people going to school with me who were working 2 jobs just to be able to pay where they were staying at and pay for school. Like there are a lot of people going through a lot of hard times right now. Joe Biden talked about it a lot, especially in the debates. He mentioned the empty seat at the kitchen table, and it kind of just became like a cliche phrase that obviously his advisors are telling him to stress that.
Yeah.
But it does hit home for a lot of people too because 270 plus thousand right now people have actually passed away, and it might not all be at the kitchen table, at home. A lot of these people were actually in nursing homes, as we're finding out, due to the average age of them. But it's still people who had loved ones, and it's people who did not get to see their loved ones or get to even get consoled or like loved ones were not allowed to go visit them because they have COVID.
Yeah.
Like you literally cannot
Yeah.
go to see them.
Yeah.
The best you can do is like video chat or something like that, which is just when you're sick like that, you just almost just want someone to be next to
Yeah.
you, like holding your hand or something like that. And a lot of these times, it's like the ICU nurses, you know, who are getting to witness this. So it does suck for the frontline healthcare workers who are actually fighting and witnessing. It's like almost like a war for them. What they're going through, you know, people are coming in, they're like double masked up. They know that they can't get this virus, or because they're gonna take it home to their families. So they got to be careful of that. But at the same time, they want to care for everybody.
I mean, there's a point where some of these nurses didn't even have masks. They were like
Yeah.
running out of masks, and people they were
Yeah.
literally quitting their jobs so that they wouldn't get like contract COVID and all that kind of stuff.
It's like at a certain point, you just have to be selfish and think
Yeah.
about yourself and your family. You
Exactly.
still have
Yeah.
to go home and sleep
Yeah.
at home,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Someone at my work, his wife actually is an ICU nurse, and they just had a newborn in the house, and he literally had his wife like not staying in the same room as the newborn, or they had to keep them separated because it was the height of the pandemic. He didn't know much about the situation at all, so he didn't know if they could be kept close or not. It's just this situation has brought on a lot of angst for a lot of people, and these healthcare workers, especially when they go out and they see people not believing it, or when they're driving home from work and they see like a restaurant open and there's like a group of people at a table just congregating and just having a good time.
Yeah.
That's like almost a slap in the face to them, because they're on the front lines and they see what's happening, and there's a good amount of people that just are not taking it
Yeah.
seriously.
The healthcare workers definitely don't get enough credit for what they do and stuff, especially in like situations like this with the pandemic. So I mean,
So the frontline workers, they're on the front lines, doing basically keeping our country alive. The reason we had to shut down, quote unquote, I'm saying back in March and April, is that we didn't want everyone to get infected and go to the hospital at once, because we can't care for everybody at once. There's just no way. Even if we had the military setting up all the beds in the world, there's no way we could do it. So we had to shut down. But once we learned about it and we learned kind of how to treat it, we're able to treat the virus a lot better now than back when it first came out. There's almost a vaccine out, so it's getting a lot better. But then we were slowly able to open back up, and essential businesses always stayed open, and the essential workers were basically the second line in the war.
So
Yeah.
they were pretty much feeding the people who can't afford
Exactly.
food that were in the stores that were basically gone. Because like there was a point where there was running out of toilet papers, hand
Yeah.
sanitizer, on top of that food, because people were storing food.
yeah,
Storing like shelves and shelves of
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
They were just wiping it. People were fighting for the last piece of bread, or for the last pack of water bottles and stuff like that. Humans get into a sense of panic, right? It happens when there's a snowstorm coming. Like literally, me and Arjun used to work at a grocery store, and when there was like a big rainstorm predicted, or a big snowstorm predicted, people would just come and just like stock up on food.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, what if what if it just knocks all the power out, and
It's
all
like
the
human
food.
nature, they just fear for the worst, so that's
And the future is always like in doubt, right?
it's like the
Well,
human instinct, for survival and stuff. So they always think about, what necessity items are there so they can, I guess survive.
Yeah, toilet paper.
So that
Yeah.
so there was no point. There was no point where they were thinking about being moderate with all this stuff, because like people were buying
Yeah.
like including with the guy that like bought hand sanitizers from Amazon, or was it on Amazon?
Screw that.
Oh
guy.
yeah, no, he was trying to sell it on
He was,
Amazon.
he was trying to sell it on
Yeah.
Amazon, but like he basically had like thousands of like bottles of hand sanitizer.
Yeah, these two brothers like went state to state to buy all the hand
like people were needing it. They were all
Yeah,
out
yeah.
on Amazon, all that kind of stuff.
People were needing it, like businesses were
Yeah.
needing it, hospitals were needing it,
Yeah.
and there was really like a huge shortage.
And then there was one person, obviously that guy, he was very selfish about it. And when the reporter asked him, "Do you feel bad about it?" he said no, because he wanted to make money. It was all for a selfish reason.
But I know Amazon and eBay like made sure they like didn't like those people couldn't like sell their stuff on there, because obviously it's a time like this. If you just buy something from Walmart and try to sell it for more
That's
money,
illegal,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So like COVID, it showed us like a whole side of America and
Yeah.
people being self-preservation and all that kind of stuff. People like didn't care about selfish, and people not like caring about the other lives and all that kind of stuff.
But isn't it okay to be selfish to a point?
to
Yeah.
a certain
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you also gotta.
But when it
take care of
starts
your-
hurting other people, I think
Yeah.
that's.
It's like your pursuit of happiness, right? Like we have a guaranteed pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
But as long as it's not like affecting somebody else's pursuit of happiness, like
Yeah.
uh, I think that's how it's mentioned in the Constitution. So kind of wrapping up the stimulus talks topic, the main point I kind of wanted to get across is like, why can the two sides not agree over this? Because, you know, we just talked about it and it is a very like just bare bone, like, you know, just a real topic.
Mhm.
Like
I mean,
people need help right now.
I feel like it shouldn't be politicized in the first
Exactly.
place.
yeah, health should not be like you know.
Yeah, that's the main thing wrong with like America in general.
The
just
two-party
health-
system.
Like
yeah,
health should not
two-party,
be health should not be close to politics because like they should not be head to head. It's a whole different matter, and it's just like they care about their own pride than people like, you know, people's lives.
If it was their own pride, they would do what's best for the people, but it's not. It's it just they just want to do what's best for their party, not what's best for America.
That too, and pride. I mean,
What do you mean by pride?
basically like having your own party, like being
Okay, yeah. So
a little
Pride
slightly
for your
above.
party over the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah,
yeah. So both parties do that a lot, right? Like the Republicans are almost positioning now to slow Joe Biden down in every way because you can't have the impression that America's like, you know, booming under a Democratic president.
Yeah.
Because then how is the Republican going to
Yeah.
get reelected?
Mhm.
It would be the same way how the House, you know, in the last 2 years was probably stymieing or stopping Donald Trump a little on everything he wanted.
and the craziest part is that Trump knew about this whole COVID situation way beforehand.
Yeah.
Like before he called it fake and all that. Cause
What did they say in January?
I think it was in January when one of the officials called. I don't know who called him, but like he had a call with somebody.
Yeah, there was audio
and,
out.
and he claimed that he
Bob
already,
Woodward.
Yeah.
Bob Woodward,
Yeah.
who was the reporter who broke the Nixon tapes too.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
the Watergate.
Wait, was it Bob Woodward for the Melania one, or was that for Trump? Because
No, that was for the Trump one.
okay.
yeah, and basically,
I can kind of explain the backstory behind that because it's kind of funny. So Bob Woodward calls Trump, and he's telling him he's writing a book, and Trump doesn't really like Bob Woodward, right? But he loves publicity, so he's like, "What could go wrong? Let me talk to this guy." Bob Woodward is recording it, and that's when, you know, Trump literally admits he's lying to the American people. He doesn't want them to panic. But this thing spreads so easily. It's way worse than the flu. It spreads through the air. You know, from two people talking to each other, it can spread. We can play some of the audio right now.
And so, what was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, and I think he's going to have it in good shape. But you know, it's a very tricky situation.
Indeed,
It goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. You know, the touch you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And then I
what
say,
are
well,
you
is that
able
the
to
same thing?
do for
This is more deadly. This is 5 per. You know, this is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%.
But yeah, it's clear that he knew. At the same time, he was not saying any of that in public. In public, he was playing it down. He was telling us that
it's a hoax.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't actually calling it a hoax, Snopes, or there was multiple fact checks on it, and he was calling the Democrats' response to it a hoax, saying like they're taking it way too seriously. Which, you know, in a way, he's wrong. You know, the Democrats were taking it seriously because at the time we didn't know anything about it. You have to take it seriously,
Yeah.
right? Like you have to listen to your medical experts. I feel like before this, we didn't really question science as much, or we didn't question our medical experts as much. We kind of, not to say that we blindly followed them, but at the same time, we trusted their opinion. And this has really sown a lot of doubt into like how a lot of Americans see any type of public opinion. We're kind of in bubbles now when it comes to our political beliefs. Let's say like here in this room, you know, we all fall like on one side of the spectrum when it comes to the political spectrum, right? Maybe some farther than others, but we all fall on one side. How often do we congregate, or how often do we talk with, or how often do we discuss with the other side of the political spectrum?
Pretty rarely.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also like, I mean, most I'm not gonna say everybody, but like there's a good amount of people who don't even like care about what you want to say or anything like that. Like they're like Republicans, like supporters, especially young, like people like our age too. Like they just believe what like everything what Trump says and not really like want to look at like COVID stuff, like scientists, not listen to them and stuff. So I think like, I mean, even if we were to talk to them, it's just like we're so much we're pretty like so much in one spot that there's no really point of trying to convince them or like because they're so far.
Also, there's been discussion. I don't know if you guys have seen what Rudy Giuliani has been doing. This man has been on.
This man's still on with the whole Trump won the campaign.
This man is on some sort of tirade going across the United States to every swing state that Trump lost and putting up some sort of legal fight. Yeah. He brought, I'm going to play the clip shortly, but he brought a drunk woman to a Michigan state legislature.
Really?
where a Republican legislator is literally trying to ask her questions and she is so obviously drunk.
No way.
Yeah, I gotta play the video and I'll show it to you guys later, but it's really funny. I'll play it now.
30,000? I'd say that poll book is off by over 100,000. That poll book, why don't you look at the registered voters on there?
So my question then is if the
guess how many what about the turnout rate? 120%.
Let's let Representative Johnson ask his question.
My question is why we're not seeing the poll book off by 30,000 votes. That's not the case.
What did you guys do? Take it and do something crazy to it?
So Rudy Giuliani has been going across the United States with lawsuit after lawsuit trying to get votes disqualified that would maybe lead to a Trump win, right? In Georgia, there was actually a report that came out today that Trump called the Georgian governor and he asked him to convince the state legislators to abandon the electors that they have now and to choose electors that would choose Trump, because the electors are the ones who actually choose who's going to be president. So he was calling the governor today to pressure him to change that. Mm-hmm. He thinks that if he can change the Georgian one, then he'll have a momentum to try Michigan and try Pennsylvania. Yeah. But he's literally trying to this is like a mob style.
Yeah, so they're literally trying to disqualify your vote. It's like, they're out there saying, your vote matters, every vote matters, but this guy, since he's losing, he wants to disqualify these voters.
Even though by now, the official tally, and they're still counting votes in some places, but Joe Biden is up by more than 7 million votes. Which is a lot of people. Yeah. It's almost like 4%. I think the difference 47 to 51%. Like you mentioned, Arjun, Trump has sent out 250 campaign emails since he lost the election. Not him personally, but he's definitely championing this. He has mentioned to his closest aides that he loves the fundraising that they've been able to do since he lost the election because. In these emails, he's like, the Democrats are trying to steal the election. We're not going to let it happen. Donate to, and the reason I'm putting emphasis on some of these terms is because it's in caps, some of these. It's just funny the way they're written, I can just imagine the intern going are you sure you want me to type this? Because, it's weird. I'll put up a screenshot right here, but the Democrats are trying to steal the election. We're not going to let it happen. We're still going to win this. Donate to us. You need to help us out. They're literally, sending these to these innocent people. Well, I don't want to say, some of them are innocent though. They honestly think that Donald Trump is still gonna win. They're giving him money.
They're giving him money.
Yeah, so he has done so much just to give them hope. So people are actually hoping that this is gonna happen, and they're still giving him money. So he's pretty much just stealing it out of their pockets.
It is. He's using them for his lawsuit money.
Yeah.
Not just that, but up to 60% of the money can actually go to his personal super PAC. And it can go to paying off his debts that he incurred while he was campaigning, and all those campaign stops that he made in the last week, where he was traveling so much. That costs a lot of money.
And the rest of the money doesn't even have to go to the voting,
just
itself.
read the asterisks. Yeah. It's crazy. The money can go anywhere basically. Trump can take that money, and that's why he's loving this campaigning, and that's why he's still going on and on about how the election was rigged and they can still win it, because he still wants the money to keep pouring in. don't forget this guy's, he made $1 billion somehow, some way, and it wasn't the best way. It wasn't the right way.
I mean, he's been in debt.
Or the smart way.
I mean, he's been in debt since like the 70s, and now like this guy still
owes
he's just digging
money.
himself a bigger hole than ever.
There's a lot going on. And let us know if you want like a deep dive into. We can do like a deep dive into Donald Trump's history because there's a lot to even talk about there. We got to take our first Susu break. So we will be right back. Hey, shout out Cal Beats.
All right, let's stop.